Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, January 22nd. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today. This is going to be the warmest day we're going to have for a long time. The high 46. And then tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 29. Friday is not going to be bad either. Sunshine, high 36. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it's 41 and cloudy in Brookhaven out on Long Island. It's 38 and partly cloudy in Red Bank over in New Jersey. And it's 35 and partly cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
There is a huge salt shortage ahead of this weekend's big storm. Wait till you hear about the city's worst landlords. Mayor Mamdani forced to answer questions about Sid's sit-down with Police Commissioner Tisch. A Port Washington mom needs help finding her missing teen. And how did a local cat lady collect so many of them? All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Dangerously cold sub-zero conditions are set to grip the tri-state area starting this weekend. It's already making its way through the south, and it's going to come up here. Matt Hodges works at a local hardware store down in Greenville, North Carolina, where they're not used to this kind of weather.
Probably a good about 30 to 40 people already, and we've got probably maybe about 5 bags of rock salt left.
Yeah, so strong gusty winds going to lead to dangerous wind chills, prompting extreme cold warnings, watches from all the way like the Midwest right here to the Northeast. Now, we'll get smacked with it come Saturday. So again, enjoy these next 2 days. It's going to be on the warm side, and then all into next week, we don't really get out of the 20s. So down in North Carolina, down in the South, again, not used to this kind of thing.
Very much prepared. Have to be ready. At my age, you don't want to be unprepared.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing all my last-minute shopping today.
Yes, they're doing all that milk and bread stuff now down south.
Honestly, be really prepared and just realize that, it's always good to stock up. The rock salt is not going to expire, so you can leave it in the garage, keep it dry, get your propane for refilled or exchanged and everything like that. That way, in case you need to use propane heaters, things like that.
Now, okay, so here's the two main forecast prediction models. We keep looking at the two of these, this European one, the American one. They were in agreement for a while yesterday, but by last night, less so. So the European model says beginning Saturday night into all day Sunday, we'll get smacked with a snowstorm that'll bring more than a foot of snow. They're predicting 14 inches of snow between late Saturday night and early Monday morning. Now, the American model is calling for 9.4 inches of snow. So either way, it's a lot of snow, more snow than we've seen in a long time. And they say it'll happen early Sunday morning into Monday afternoon. Now, it's still early, so this all could change. The snow totals could change as well. Now, the last time Central Park had more than 6 inches of snow on the ground, you have to go back to January of 2022. The last time they had more than a foot of snow, that was in February of 2021. It's funny, I don't even remember this one, but it was 17 inches of snow. Do you remember that? I have no memory of that at all. There is some uncertainty, of course, in both of these models. They could change. It's only Thursday, but of course, as we get closer to the weekend, they'll have a better sense of how much snow we're going to get. And of course, keep it here. 77 WABC for the latest on this storm. Coming up after 5:30, forget the bread and the salt, or rather the bread and the milk. It's salt that you need, and we'll tell you why there is a shortage in the tri-state area. That coming up after 5:30. NYPD cops searching for a gunman after a man was shot to death in the Bronx last night. 19-year-old identified as Jameer Turner, shot in the back on Secor Avenue in Eastchester. This was about 6 o'clock last night. He was alone, just a few minutes away from his house. He was taken to Jacoby Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. And people in this Eastchester neighborhood said they could not remember the last time they had heard of any shooting there.
That's cowardly. It's a fairly quiet, neighborhood. We don't have a huge crime.
I was just like, wait a minute, did you guys hear something? And they're like, yeah, I thought I heard something. And I'm like, well, that doesn't happen over here. So, what is that?
Yep. Again, it had been maybe decades since there's a shooting in this exact neighborhood. We couldn't confirm that before we came to air, but that's what neighbors who've been there forever say. They don't remember any sort of real violence there.
I never seen or witnessed anything, so this is like my very first time noticing something.
I'm wondering if it's someone neighborhood or just someone passing through or what.
I don't think anybody deserves to die like that.
Police looking for a male wearing all black that fled on foot towards Boston Road. They do not have a motive for this shooting. They have not made any arrests. Negotiations going to resume today with the help of a mediator to try to end the largest nursing strike in New York City history. 15,000 nurses have been protesting and picketing since January 12th outside three major private hospitals, New York Presbyterian, Mount Sinai, and Montefiore.
They have us outside striking when we want to be inside the hospital taking care of our patients.
Now, traveling nurses have been filling in while the hospital's regular nurses demand lower nurse-patient staffing ratios, guaranteed health care benefits, and better protection from workplace violence.
Their value is not negotiable, and their worth is not up for debate.
That was the mayor on the picket line on, what's today, Thursday, Tuesday.
We need fair contracts now because I know that people are going to suffer, and that is not what we want.
Patients are your family.
Now, nurses have braved really frigid temperatures over some of these days in their bid to force the hospitals to give in to their demands.
We fired up!
Can't take no more.
We fired up!
Can't take no more.
We fired up!
Yeah. So
we fired up!
the hospitals and nurses union will resume face-to-face talks today for the first time in nearly a week, but the nurses union says the walkout will continue until tentative agreements are reached with the hospitals. Mayor Mamdani again has supported the nurses on the picket line. New York will have to redraw at least 3 congressional districts ahead of November's midterm elections after a judge's ruling yesterday.
The state judge ruled New York's 11th district, that's Staten Island and southern Brooklyn, diluted black and Latino voting power. Democratic petitioners asked to change the district to Staten Island and southern Manhattan instead. Not clear if the state's independent redistricting commission would make that specific change. The 11th district is represented by Nicole Malliotakis. It's the only Republican seat in New York City. The proposed changes would likely make her path to re-election more difficult. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
WABC News Time 509. Just a bizarre thing we're just learning about. De-icing fluid leaked into the fuselage of a Delta Airlines flight and got onto a passenger, forcing a plane to return to the gate at LaGuardia Airport. Now, this happened on Sunday. We're only learning about it now. A plane was headed to Jacksonville, Florida. Delta Airlines says the liquid was not hazardous. Here's what it sounded like as air traffic controller dealt with it.
We had a bunch of de-icing fluid leak inside of the aircraft and took a passenger. We're not used to coming into the fuselage like that, so we want to have maintenance take a look at it, make sure we don't have a leak.
Yeah, so the crew decided to return to the gate so the aircraft could be checked out. Delta ended up moving passengers onto another plane to their destination. Leaders in Newark preaching patience as Monday's deadly police-involved shooting continues to be investigated.
This happened on Monday outside a bodega near Ross Street and Evergreen Avenue in Newark. Around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Newark PD and a person or persons exchanged gunfire, per reports. This woman spoke to Fox 5 and identified herself as the sister of the man who died, 43-year-old Wally Bay.
Wally Bay didn't have a gun, and he was in a car when they shot him.
They down here every day harassing
him.
Newark Mayor Ross Baraka and the city's public safety director say a stream of misinformation has been circulating regarding the shooting. An official update will be provided in 20 days. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
Let's head overseas. President Trump touting the U.S. economy as he addressed the World Economic Forum in Davos yesterday, saying inflation in the U.S. has been defeated.
The economy is booming, growth is exploding, productivity is surging, investment is soaring. Incomes are rising.
Some of the big items out of the speech yesterday, the president telling world leaders he will not take Greenland by force. He also said he would not issue tariffs on European nations in connection to Greenland. And then he also issued a warning to Americans. He said rig the 2020 White House election.
Wouldn't have started if the 2020 U.S. presidential election weren't rigged. It was a rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It was a rigged election. You can't have rigged elections.
Now, we don't know a whole lot about this whole Greenland talk. The President Trump said there's this framework of a long-term deal on Greenland in place. He made the announcement initially on Truth Social and then came out and talked to reporters.
People are out there and they're working it right now. They're working the details of the deal, but it's what's called an infinite deal. It's forever. So we want a piece of ice for world protection.
Okay, so the president's been catching heat online after he repeatedly called Greenland Iceland during his speech in Switzerland yesterday. But all he wanted to talk about, of course, is Greenland and making some sort of deal to take over the island.
Yeah, the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in the Golden Dome. And they're going to be involved in mineral rights, and so are we.
That was the president on CNBC yesterday saying European allies will work together on the U.S. Golden Dome defense system and mineral rights in Greenland. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says he's not concerned about European investors, including a Danish pension fund, who have pulled out of the U.S. bond market amid the tensions over Greenland. Remember the markets went crazy earlier this week.
Denmark's investment in U.S. Treasury bonds, like Denmark itself, is irrelevant.
So Bessent told reporters in Davos yesterday that Denmark's investment is less than $100 million.
Less than $100 million. They've been selling treasuries for years. I'm not concerned at all. Again, as Treasury Secretary, I see our Treasury auctions. We've had record foreign investment.
And then, of course, the big stuff happens on the sidelines of this conference, not just the speeches. Ukrainian President Zelensky traveling to Switzerland to meet with President Trump at Davos. Also happening today, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and advisor Jared Kushner are expected to meet with top Kremlin officials in Moscow. Correspondent Dario Bondarchuk reports that both meetings are aimed at ending the years-long war between Ukraine and Russia.
He said he believed Russian President Vladimir Putin will come to an agreement on Ukraine, hailing lots of progress on the peace deal in recent weeks. Witkoff confirmed that the issue of territory remains the biggest sticking point between Russia and Ukraine.
Of course, we've been here many times before, but Witkoff sounding more optimistic than he has in the past. The U.S. is officially withdrawing from the World Health Organization now.
The WHO is a UN agency aimed at preventing diseases and promoting public health around the world. President Trump announced last year that the U.S. was ending its membership and gave a year's notice, which ends today. Some observers say the decision appears to violate federal law, which mandates the U.S. pay $260 million in outstanding fees to the health agency. A State Department spokesperson responded by saying, quote, "The American people have paid more than enough to this organization." I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Let's bring it back home down to Washington, D.C. The Supreme Court hearing arguments yesterday on the firing of Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook by President Trump.
President Trump fired Fed Governor Lisa Cook, alleging mortgage fraud. A lower court reinstated her. SCOTUS has to decide who was right, Trump or the court. And would it make a difference if Cook left her job immediately or not? Fed rules say a board member can only be thrown out for cause, actually doing something wrong in the job. The alleged mortgage fraud, which Cook denies, happened before her appointment in 2013. In the public gallery, Fed Chair Jerome Powell and former Fed Chair Ben Bernanke signaling signaling to the justices how serious the issue of Fed independence is. The Supremes have until June to rule. John Terrett, WABC News.
Maria Corina Machado was in Washington, D.C. yesterday pressing the flesh. She wants to be Venezuela's new leader. Will it happen? We'll get to that story in just a moment. First, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Eller.
Thank you, Noam Layden. Started here with some big offseason news here for the Mets yesterday out in the MLB. Winter-long pursuit of a frontline starting pitcher ended late yesterday when they acquired all-star Freddie Peralta, as well as fellow right-hander Tobias Myers from the Milwaukee Brewers for Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams, two of their top prospects. Peralta was coveted by several clubs. He is a two-time all-star coming off a career season in which he went 17-6 with a 2.70 ERA in 176 2/3 innings across 33 starts. He is one of two pitchers with at least 200 strikeouts in each of the past 3 seasons. Not only that, but he also ranks 10th in the majors among qualifiers with a 3.40 ERA and third in opponent batting average. That's a 210 mark over that span. 29-year-old comes to New York. To the NBA at the Garden, Knicks broke a 4-game losing streak without breaking a sweat, crushing the Nets 120-66 last night in the most lopsided victory in franchise history. Jalen Brunson scored 20 points, and Landry Shamet was 6 for 6 on three-pointers and added 18 for the Knicks, who led by as much as 59 points before the 54-point victory that surpassed the previous largest margin of victory of 48 points. The Knicks had lost 9 of their last 11 games, so this was a good time for them to play Brooklyn because they just don't lose to the Nets these days. They won their 13th straight meeting in the local rivalry. Michael Porter Jr. shot 4 for 14 and was limited to 12 points, but was still the leading scorer for a Nets team that has lost 8 of 9. Up next for both local squads, the Nets will host Boston tomorrow, and the Knicks will visit Philadelphia come Saturday. Head to the ice. Final from Seattle. Islanders lost to the Kraken 4-1. Anthony Duclair scored on the power play just about 2.5 minutes into the game for the Islanders, who wrapped up a 7-game road trip with a 3-3-1 record. Up next for them, they'll return home to face off with Buffalo, come Saturday. That is your Sports Know, man. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:19. Venezuela opposition leader Maria Corina Machado pressing her case in D.C. yesterday, telling lawmakers in Congress she wants to return home and lead her country back to democracy.
My main objective is to return to Venezuela as soon as possible. I had a mission that I have to accomplish.
Machado meeting with members of Congress just days after visiting President Trump at the White House, where she urged backing for new elections and protections for Venezuelans living in the U.S. under temporary status.
Once we achieve a democratic and free Venezuela, we will see millions of our children coming back home. And that's our goal. That's a force that moves us. It's a force of love.
Now, President Trump's offered no clear timeline for elections, has questioned Machado's political standing inside Venezuela, signaling openness to working with the country's interim leadership instead. Maria Corina Machado hoping that her meetings with Congress yesterday might change the president's mind. 5:20, a Navy admiral removed by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says she's now running for Congress.
3-star Admiral Nancy LaCour was the head of the Navy Reserve before Hegseth removed her last August. She has registered now to run for South Carolina's 1st congressional district as a Democrat. In a post on X, she said she was removed from her position without cause, but she is, quote, not done serving, end quote. South Carolina's 1st congressional district is currently occupied by Republican Representative Nancy Mace, who is not seeking re-election. She's looking to get the Republican nomination for that state's governor. I'm Jim Roop.
From South Carolina down to Texas, former school police officer Adrian Gonzalez found not guilty of failing to protect students during the 2022 mass shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde. He spoke to reporters minutes after the verdict was read last night.
I want to start by thanking God for this. My family, my wife, and these guys are here. He put them in my path.
The verdict came after about 7 hours of jury deliberations following a 2-week trial that looked into whether Gonzalez failed in his duty as an officer. 19 students, 2 teachers were killed on that day.
Thank you for the jury for considering all the evidence and making that verdict.
Testimony showed that roughly 77 minutes passed from the time authorities arrived until a tactical team entered a classroom and killed the shooter. Defense attorney Nico Lahoud says he feels for the victims' families after this verdict.
I've been praying for them. We pray for them. We're sorry that they feel that way. We understand that their separation from their loved one is going to be felt as long as they walk on this earth, and we don't ignore that. We acknowledge that. They said there was gaps in the evidence. They appreciated us bringing out those gaps. They considered everything. They were very diligent. They worked very hard back there. They were very mindful and deliberate.
So Adrian Gonzalez acquitted of all 29 counts of child abandonment or endangerment. 522. ICE's latest operation is underway, and it's taking place in a place you might not expect, Maine.
According to Fox News, authorities arrested more than 50 people on Tuesday, and more arrests were taking place on Wednesday. ICE Deputy Assistant Director Patricia Hyde said there are approximately 1,400 targets in Maine, and it comes as part of the Trump administration's broader crackdown against illegal immigrants. Portland Mayor Mark Dion issued a statement opposing the prospect of ICE in the area and noted that Portland police does not cooperate with ICE, and they do not participate in enforcing federal immigration law. I'm Mark Mayfield.
WABC News Time 522. The House Committee looking into the Jeffrey Epstein investigation has started contempt proceedings against both Bill and Hillary Clinton. The GOP-led committee is chaired by Republican Congressman James Comer.
Subpoenas are not mere suggestions. They carry the force of law and require compliance. The Clintons must be held accountable for their actions. And Democrats must support these measures or they will be exposed as hypocrites.
Now, as Comer, who warned last week, contempt of Congress charges against former President Clinton and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton are on the table after neither showed up for their scheduled deposition last week.
We must do what is necessary to uphold Congress's investigative authority, which is imperative to the legislative process. And we are doing so to demonstrate to the American people that justice is applied equally to everyone, regardless of position, pedigree, or prestige.
Bill Clinton has been featured in several Epstein photos, but has maintained he did nothing wrong during his associations with the deceased sex trafficker. The Clintons and several other officials were subpoenaed in a bipartisan vote last summer. Congressman Comer says it's important Congress maintains its authority. That's why he's following through. How are small businesses doing across the country?
As President Trump spoke economics with world leaders in Davos, Kelly Loeffler, who heads up the country's Small Business Administration, was on with Sid and Friends in the Morning Wednesday and said America's small businesses are staying strong.
Did you know small businesses make up 99% of all businesses in this country? And under President Trump, we had a record 36 million small businesses in this nation because they believe in the future.
As for the future,
these small businesses see it's coming back, but look, they're still digging out from Joe Biden's America because that was pretty rough.
Loeffler says small business optimism is above its 52-year average month after month. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
Pending home sales, well, they just plunged last month.
According to the National Association of Realtors survey, pending sales of existing homes fell 9.3% across the U.S. between November and December. Sales are down to their lowest point in 5 months. Economists say rising home prices and fewer listings offset lower interest rates. I'm at Mattinson.
WABC News Time 525. Prince Harry testifying yesterday in a London courtroom in a privacy invasion trial involving the publisher of the Daily Mail. Correspondent Molly Hunter reports Elton John, Liz Hurley, also part of this lawsuit.
They're accusing A&L of going to great, extraordinary lengths to obtain information, including impersonating people to get medical records, hacking phones, planting listening devices in people's cars and homes, all over a period of about 30 years. First 2 days of court heard opening statements from both sides, the defense vehemently denying any wrongdoing, arguing the tabloid journalists provide a, quote, compelling account of a pattern of legitimate sourcing of articles. And right now there are 14 articles specifically in question when it comes to the Duke of Sussex. His lawyer has also said this. He put this in his written witness statement. He is doing this out of public interest. He sees this as an important personal public duty. He says he's not doing this for a big payout or self-preservation. but he's really doing it to uncover the truth.
Now, the newspaper company denies the charges, says the articles in the question had legitimate sourcing. NASA astronaut Sonny Williams retiring after a 27-year career.
According to an announcement from NASA, Williams' retirement took effect at the end of December, and it follows a career filled with record-setting achievements. Williams logged 608 days in space since joining NASA in 1998, which is the second most by a NASA astronaut, and she holds the record for the most spacewalk time by a woman with 62 hours across 9 spacewalks. Her final mission on a test flight of Boeing's Starliner was a showcase of her resilience. It was only supposed to last just over a week and was extended to more than 9 months due to technical issues. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, January 22nd. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today. The high is going to be 46, and this is going to be the warmest day we're going to have in probably the next week or so. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 29, and not terrible for Friday either, high 36. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it's 41 and cloudy in Brookhaven out on Long Island. It's 38 and partly cloudy in Red Bank over in New Jersey, and it's 35 and partly cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 540. A major winter storm expected to bring ice and snow to the tri-state this weekend, along with some bone-chilling cold temperatures. We're not even going to get out of the teens. In New Jersey, people are out gathering supplies. These were people in North Bergen yesterday.
Just preparing early, I got a corner property, so I got to clear the walkways, and I live across from a school, so, I try to do a little bit extra because for the kids, don't want them falling down.
Okay, so it's usually about getting the bread and the milk ahead of these storms, but it may be salt you should be looking for today. Hardware stores across the tri-state say they are almost completely out of salt. Some of them talking to Eyewitness News last night.
We heard earlier on in the year that there was possibilities that you would not be able to get salt. We noticed it halfway through the year. They were limiting the amount that we were able to bring into the store.
And these stores have been asking for salt ahead of Sunday's storm, but probably won't get there in time.
They're out all over the place, and we've been trying to scramble to source it from different venues or different, suppliers.
I have plenty of shovels, I have plenty of sleds, but, the stuff to keep people from falling, all the ice melter. We're giving them sand as an alternative option.
Yeah, and the same holds true for some of these towns across the tri-state. In Piscataway, the mayor there says he's not sure they have enough salt to fight this storm, and he explains how it works in terms of him and Piscataway getting their salt supply.
We have about 500 roadway miles in our community, but we're down to under 500 tons, which is basically only going to take care of intersections. So the pecking order in the state of New Jersey is state DOT's first priority, then county, and then the rest of municipalities. So we get the leftover breadcrumbs, so to speak, or whatever salt's left.
Yes, so if you're out shopping, bread, milk, and apparently salt. And the two main forecast prediction models for Sunday are, they're not as opposed as they were 24 hours ago. So last night, these two models were in total agreement. By this morning, they're not. So the European weather model predicts 13.9 inches, down to the 0.9 inches of snow. They say it'll start late Saturday night, be an all-day affair into Sunday, and then very early Monday morning, the storm will go away. The American model says, and this is for New York City, by the way, the American model says 9.4 inches is still a lot of snow. It'll begin, they say, Sunday morning and last into Monday afternoon. Now, it's still early, so those models will likely change a little bit, maybe even a lot over the 24 hours. They say they'll have a better idea of it come Friday. Last time Central Park had more than 6 inches of snow on the ground, you have to go back to 2022. The last time we had more than 12 inches on the ground, you have to go back to 2021. So there's still some uncertainty in this forecast, and again, it'll be fine-tuned in the coming days. Of course, keep it here, 77 WABC. We'll have have the latest, everything you need to know about the storm, and maybe even where you need to find some salt if there's any left. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch may be getting some blowback, though we don't know exactly for sure. She met, of course, with our very own morning personality, Sid Rosenberg from Sid and Friends in the Morning, for dinner on Tuesday night. Then Sid put a picture up of the two of them having dinner at Nicola's on the Upper East Side on his Instagram. And then everybody went kind of crazy. The people who do not like Sid, those who wanted to use it against Mayor Mamdani. And yesterday, during Mayor Mamdani's press conference, he was asked, he said, do you have a problem with your police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, having dinner with right-wing shock jock, as they define him, Sid Rosenberg? So here is Mayor Mamdani answering that question. It was a Daily News reporter who threw it out there.
How do you feel about your police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, dining with right-wing radio host Sid Rosenberg last night?
I can tell you that of all the questions that I ask my police commissioner who she had dinner with the night before is not one of them. And the focus that the two of us share is on delivering public safety to each and every New Yorker, and that's the work we continue to do.
Okay, by the way, let me point out, I think that's a great answer from the mayor. And I will even guess that maybe that was practiced ahead of time, because I watched this clip a couple times last night, and it looked like he 100% knew this question was coming and maybe even discussed it with his peeps.
He started smiling when they mentioned Jessica Tisch's name.
That is the very own Sid Rosenberg we're talking about, screaming as I try to do my NewsHour program. Yes, that's my guess, is this question was rehearsed, because that was a damn good answer on his part, just sort of throwing the question away that he doesn't care who she has dinner with, which may or may not be true. But no doubt, my guess is, and I'm not 100% sure about this, that Sid may have more to say about this coming up during Sid and Friends in the Morning in about 15 minutes from now. All right, 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning. Or no, I already said good morning to you like 3 times, didn't I? But here's Justin Ellen.
Oh, thank you, Noam.
I can say good morning again, I guess.
Yeah, why not?
A little weird, though.
Sure. Yeah, good morning again to you there, sir. The Mets there went along pursuit of a frontline starting pitcher. Ended late yesterday when they acquired all-star Freddie Peralta, as well as fellow right-hander Tobias Myers from the Milwaukee Brewers for Brandon Spartan, Jet Williams, 2 of their top prospects. Peralta was coveted by several clubs. He's a 2-time all-star coming off a career year in which he went 17-6, 2.70 ERA, 176 and 2/3 innings across 33 starts. He's one of 2 pitchers with at least 200 strikeouts in each of the past 3 seasons. Not only that, but he also ranks 10th in the majors among qualifiers with a 3.40 ERA and 3rd in opponent batting average over that span. So the Mets get their frontline guy there. At the Garden, Knicks broke a 4-game losing streak without breaking a sweat, crushing the Nets 120-66 last night in the most lopsided victory in franchise history.
Oh my God, what was the score?
120-66.
They only could muster 66 points?
Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. was their leading scorer, and guess how many points he had?
12.
There you go.
Was that right?
Yeah, he nailed it. 4 for 14 for Michael Porter Jr. He led the Nets with 12 points. And
Could that be a record for the lowest total score during a regular season? 66 points in a while, at least, anyway, right?
I don't think it's a record, but it's got to be a long time since we've seen a team score that few points in a game.
Geez, what is going on?
I don't know,
66
but
points.
A lot was going wrong for the Knicks, and this is the right time for them to play a team like the Nets.
Yeah. Where was this, Barclays or the Garden?
This is at the Garden. Oh. Yeah, so Knicks were at home, and they just ran a roughshod all over the Nets, letting out some frustration with their sliding over the last couple of weeks. But they get back in the win column. Up next for both local squads, the Nets will host Boston tomorrow, and the Knicks will visit Philadelphia come Saturday. To the ice, for final from Seattle, Islanders lost to the Kraken 4-1. Anthony Duclair scored on the power play early on in the game for the Islanders, who wrapped up a 7-game road trip with a 3-3-1 record. Up next for them, they'll return home to face off with Buffalo come Saturday. That's your Sports Noam, and I'm Justin Alec on 77 WABC.
Thank you very much, Justin. 5:47, traffic, transit on the 7s. Here's Joe Nolan.
Noam, as Chris Christie said, as the Nets left New Jersey for Brooklyn,
right?
You're Brooklyn's problem now.
That is 100% true. Though, remember when they played at the Brendan Byrne Arena and then whatever, the Continental Airlines Arena,
right.
And whatever the hell it was called after that, they got close a couple times.
Yeah, they got to the NBA Finals twice. 2 years in a row.
Jason Kidd, the rest of the crew.
But yeah, I mean, Jason Kidd and Jason Williams and all those guys, yeah, they were great.
But I also think they had a season, if I'm not mistaken, I think I might have even been at this game where they broke the record for the most losses in a season.
Yeah, probably.
At the time, anyway.
And they played down at Rutgers for a couple of years, too, when they first came from Long Island.
Now, do you remember this? When they played at Rutgers, there was a time where Rutgers students would stand under the basket when the opposing team was shooting foul shots, and they would take out Playboy centerfolds and hold them up underneath the basket. Do you remember that?
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. WABC News Time 5:50. Let's go out to Brooklyn, where an investigation underway after 57 swastikas were found at a children's playground in Gravesend. They were painted on playground slides, on the wall of a handball court in red, yellow, and blue paint with other anti-Semitic vandalism. NYPD says this is being investigated as a hate crime. It's the second time in 2 days they found this graffiti. So far, nobody's really sure who's behind it.
They got away with it once, so they're trying to get away with it again.
Probably one of the most densely packed neighborhoods of Holocaust survivors in New York City. So this is particularly offensive.
Yeah, Parks Department crew members could be seen yesterday using some sort of paint thinner to get it off the slides and everywhere else. Mayor Mamdani called the display of anti-Semitism sickening in a post on social media. Rabbi Edgar Gluck, he's with Community Board 12. His parents are Holocaust survivors.
This is something that's literally reminding us of Nazi Germany. That's if they know what they were doing. And the only thing they know what they're doing is something anti-Semitic. Exactly what a Nazi swastika stands for, or Heil Hitler, etc., etc. I don't even know if they know the history.
This isn't just a symbol that should be offensive to the Jewish community. This is something that every New Yorker should be angry about.
Now, the neighborhood has a ton of cameras around it, especially around the park, but so far police have not released any photos. NYPD detectives say they were treated rudely at a local hospital after going to the emergency room for treatment last week. Police officials say the detectives arrived at the emergency room at NYU Langone in Cobble Hill, but were confronted by security guards who questioned who they were and why they were there. The detectives now were in plain clothes, and they explained that one of them needed treatment for an injury after a scuffle with somebody. They were allegedly detained, and one of them was refused entry because he had a service weapon with him. Now, the detectives, who have not been identified, believed that they were mistaken for ICE agents and that the hospital staff initially tried to turn them away because of that. The mayor said he has not heard of the incident until he was asked about it at this press conference yesterday, but he said he would investigate.
That's the first that I'm hearing of that, but that's something that I'll follow up.
Now, the hospital issuing a statement saying that they spoke with Police Commissioner Tish over the weekend and expressed their regret for how the situation was handled. By the way, under New York sanctuary city law, ICE agents are forbidden from entering hospitals without a signed judicial warrant. Not clear if that's what these hospital workers were looking for when these detectives showed up last week. A central Pennsylvania teenager who went missing earlier this month found safe right here in New York City.
17-year-old Bella Hatt of North Londonderry Township was reported missing from her home on January 8th. She was traced to New York and had been spotted in Manhattan last Friday. The Sun, a Dauphin County newspaper, reports that Bella's mother, Laura Hatt, made 2 trips to New York and met with city, subway, and Amtrak police, along with other organizations. On Tuesday, NYPD officers located Bella, and she was reunited with her mother. There were no details on where the teenager had been during her time in New York. I'm Tori Gates.
5:53, New York City Public Advocate Jamani Williams has once again released his annual list of the 100 worst landlords in New York City, also known as the Worst Landlord Watch List. And at the top of it, Margaret Brunn, that according to Williams, followed by Donald Hastings. The two of them actually work together. Williams says they both associated with the same company called A&E Real Estate Holdings, represent about 60 buildings with a combined total of more than 8,700 open violations against the city. Now, here's some of the people who live in one of their buildings in Brooklyn.
I wear a lot of clothes to bed. I can't have my granddaughter here, and she suffers with asthma. They came to fix the bathroom, And up to today, they never came back. The worst slumlord in the world. And I've been complaining for years for this apartment.
Jamani Williams says that New York City actually just settled a lawsuit with A&E Real Estate just last week, mandating that these repairs be done ASAP.
Together, they account for 60 buildings and an average of over nearly 9,000 open violations during the list assessment period last year.
Now, A&E put out a statement yesterday saying since acquisition, they've invested $800 million across their portfolio to improve the quality of housing, meaning that every single one of their buildings is in better shape than it was when they assumed management. That was their response to yesterday's press conference. Meanwhile, some of the tenants who live in their buildings say they believe that they're trying to make things worse for them, so they'll leave. And those people say they're not going anywhere.
It's about time we fight back. This is my home. I ain't going nowhere. When I leave here, going to the cemetery, that's when God called me home. But I ain't leaving. And that is for the landlord. I am not leaving.
5:55. Let's go out to Long Island, where a family searching for a Port Washington teenager who's been missing for a week now. Rebecca Avasis says she drove her daughter Ellie to a friend's house in Port Washington on January 14th so the two could walk to school together. Instead of going to school, they say Ellie and her friend ditched their phones and ran away together.
We love her. We want her to come home. This is about Ellie and her struggles and her own mental health. It has nothing to do with us. She loves us. We know she loves us, but she can't get there. And we, just need to try to help her.
Now, that friend has since come back home to Port Washington, but Ellie has not. And her mother, as you probably would understand, is frantic about that.
She started in New York City, ended up in Queens, New Hyde Park, and now we don't know where she is. We worry about that she could go be sex trafficked. We worry about that people are helping her for the wrong reasons. And, if you have no money, then I just can't even go there.
Yeah, I can understand. Anybody, of course, with information is urged to call the cops. And you may feel like staying at home during these Arctic blasts in this icy grip we're going to feel over the weekend, but there are some hot discounts in New York City you should know about.
New York City Tourism hoping to draw you out of your warm home with what they're calling unbeatable offers on hotels, restaurants, Broadway shows, and museums. There's New York City Restaurant Week offering 2-course lunches and 3-course dinners for anywhere between $30 and $60. Broadway Week also offering 2-for-1 tickets for more than 24 shows. The deals last through February 12th. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and busts. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.